The NDP just announced a new law to limit third-party advertisers, and because of that, now's the time for me to go public with a brand new fight for press freedom that we have at The Rebel with Rachel Notley. Elections Alberta describes third-party advertisers as a person, corporation, or group which is required to register when it incurs or plans to incur expenses of at least $1,000 in elections advertising, or has accepted or plans to accept at least $1,000 in elections advertising donations. Now, you might hear these groups often described as political action committees, or PACs. They're groups like Unite Alberta, Alberta Can't Wait. They can be union front groups like Friends of Medicare, and even unions themselves like the Alberta Federation of Labour. Now, these groups exist to promote an idea or support a political party without actually being officially affiliated directly with a party or any one given candidate. Okay, so that's who and what we're talking about when we talk about third-party advertisers. Let me show you what the NDP supporters are trying to do to us now at The Rebel. Someone filed a complaint with Elections Alberta, who then sent us this letter here in September, saying someone has informed them that we at The Rebel may be breaking the law because we may be engaging in third-party advertising and didn't register as third-party advertisers in Alberta, which is utterly crazy because in the same complaint letter to us, the first exclusion to the law about third-party advertisers is the transmission to the public of an editorial, a debate, a speech, an interview, a column, a letter, a commentary, or news. So basically what we do here at The Rebel every single day, and that makes perfect sense, right? In a free society, political commentary by journalists doesn't have to be subject to government rules. We aren't third-party advertisers. We are journalists exercising our charter rights. Now, on the current list of third-party advertisers, there are no left-wing news sites that operate on donations the same way we do, sites like Progress Alberta. And they shouldn't be on that list. As much as I am fundamentally opposed to the content they produce, they absolutely have the right to produce it, unregistered by a government agency and unmolested by government spending rules. Now, I don't know who exactly filed the complaint, and I may never know, but it definitely was someone trying to shut me up and stop the work I'm doing to hold Rachel Notley accountable to the people of Alberta. And really, trying to shut me up is nothing new for the NDP. Who could forget when Rachel Notley used an armed sheriff to kick me out of the legislature when I just showed up to do my job and cover a press conference?
Do you have accreditation? For today's event?
We already spoke to Darcy Henton. He said there should be no problem to come in. What? Sorry, why is that? Sorry, why?
And the NDP routinely block or overcharge us for freedom of information requests for documents we know exist so that we can't show you, the public, what the NDP are doing behind closed doors. Now, neither one of those NDP tactics have ever worked, although they're positively authoritarian. But I'm not scared of authoritarian NDP bullies, and we aren't backing off now. Our lawyer is fighting back. He's fired off a letter to Elections Alberta reminding them of their own rules about news and commentary. So far, we have had the cursory response from the government that they've received our letter, but we've received no real assurance that they're going to back off. But here's why this fight is so important now. The NDP have just introduced a bill they plan to ram through the legislature. It's called Bill 32, with an Orwellian official name of an act to strengthen and protect democracy in Alberta. What it will do is serve to silence those who are trying to speak truth to power here in Alberta. The NDP want to put a donation limit on third-party advertisers outside of an election period and put a spending cap on third-party advertisers during an election period. The new law will also limit the sorts of things PACs can spend their money on. The NDP kept talking about this law. We knew it was coming, and now here it is. And that's why it matters if the NDP get their way and declare us to be third-party advertisers. What the NDP are trying to do to the Rebel is a preemptive strike to get a handle on us and you, our supporters, before they have to face the next election campaign in 2019. The NDP want to scoop us up in their new rules introduced in their new law. It's so slimy and conniving to use their legislative power this way. The NDP are literally reworking the elections laws to come after their own critics. And imagine if the NDP were actually able to limit the amount of donations we were able to take in outside of an election period, and then tell us how to spend the ones we do have. Could you imagine if they put a spending cap on us? Would we have to lay off staff and limit the kinds and volume of coverage we give to important issues? Probably. And that's exactly what the NDP wants. They don't want us around giving them the scrutiny the mainstream media just won't. We have no plans to campaign for or against candidates in the Alberta election as a political entity. We have never registered as a third-party campaign group in any election that we've ever covered, and we have no plans to do so in the future. This is just the latest attempt to silence us, following in the ugly footsteps of their armed sheriff and their bizarre letter from Alberta Justice saying that we weren't journalists. Frankly, Alberta has a long and shameful history of attacking freedom of the press. The NDP is just continuing that trajectory. In 1937, the Social Credit Party under Aberhart created the Alberta Accurate News and Information Act. It required each newspaper in Alberta to publish the government's rebuttal of any criticism that appeared in the newspaper within 31 days. The Supreme Court of Canada struck down that bad law, and the Edmonton Journal even won a special Pulitzer Prize for their role in dismantling the law. Will the mainstream media in Alberta fight for press freedom this time? I'll be shocked and surprised if they do, but I will be grateful for their support if it ever does come. And while I absolutely loathe this typical NDP attack on the free press, I do appreciate the NDP complimenting me on my work. Want to know what this all really means to me? It means the NDP are scared to death of me. It means the NDP and their activists are throwing everything and the kitchen sink at me and the Rebel to shut us up in advance of the next election. It's an admission by the NDP of how effective we are. It's their first act in their future failed re-election campaign. But just because the NDP and their extreme fear have validated my work, it doesn't mean that I'm letting this stand. I'm putting Rachel Notley on notice. If she wants a fight over the free press again, she's got it, and she's going to lose again too. We won't stand by and let her stack the elections laws against her critics. But as usual, I need your help. I have a petition to the Elections Alberta bureaucrat who sent us that letter, a man named Kevin Lee. He's the Director of Finance for Elections Alberta. You can sign my petition at notleyisabully.ca. We want Elections Alberta and Rachel Notley to know they aren't going to regulate us or any journalists of any kind into silence. We're asking Kevin Lee to respect the constitutional freedom of the Rebel to report. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. To sign our petition demanding that Kevin Lee, Rachel Notley's Elections Alberta bureaucrat, back off and respect the constitutional freedom of the press, for the Rebel.media, go to notleyisabully.ca.